I was, stealing cars. I was breaking in stores and robbing people, things like that.
I got into a fight with a group of guys.
I had caught an armed robbery.
I was nervous. I didn't know if I was gonna be in jail or not.
When a youth is charged with a crime in Milwaukee County, the legal process is very different than it is for an adult. For a family that finds itself in the Division of Youth and Family Services, knowing how the youth justice process works can make the whole experience easier to manage.
One of the first things we do when law enforcement brings the juvenile in to our facility is to make sure that the juvenile is appropriate for detention.
Depending on the circumstances of the case, some youth will be released with an order to return for their court date. Others will stay in detention until court.
Nobody's trying to determine guilt or innocence in the intake process. So we tell the juvenile, don't talk about their case with other juveniles in the back. We'll also explain the rules and the expectations in detention while they're in our custody.
There are two people that will be the most important in guiding you through the entire youth justice process. The first is your attorney. Your attorney represents you in the court process. You can hire your own, or one can be appointed for you free of charge.
Public defenders can also be part of your case before you're even charged with the crime. So if you're arrested or during questioning, you ask to speak with a lawyer, or you call our office to ask for a lawyer because you think you might be in trouble for something, then you would have a lawyer appointed to you before you even got into the court process.
The second important person in the process is the human service worker.
A human service worker is kind of like the front door to the delinquency process in Milwaukee County. We're kind of like a social worker / probation officer.
My role as a human service worker is to assist the youth and the family, to help the youth follow their court-ordered conditions. And as a human service worker, I also report how those conditions are being followed to the court.
Your first meeting with the human service worker is called an intake conference. Sometimes this meeting needs to take place quickly, so it's important to be cooperative.
At that intake conference, I would go over the youth's rights as well as all of the possible outcomes of the situation. I would get to know the family, how things are going at home, how they're going at school.
We're going to go over a lot of stuff. We're going to try to find out as much family history as possible. If there's any services that are in place for the family that they have seek out independently, the facts that are in the police report, and any other information that would be relevant to provide to the district attorney, the public defender, and the courts to make a recommendation to see whether this case needs to go further in the formal proceedings.
The human service worker collects all that information and provides a recommendation to the court commissioner. A court commissioner is an officer of the court who will determine whether your case will move forward to a trial. This, the first court appearance, is called a temporary physical custody hearing.
When they make their first appearance in court, it's going to be in front of me. We're going to talk about why we're there and what people are saying has happened, and their rights and different things they need to know about the system and the process moving forward. And then we'll talk about things like where they're going to live and what rules I expect them to follow between that day and the next court date. I don't want people to feel yelled at or nervous or scared. I know that some of that is natural, but the goal is really for us to figure out how to make things move better and get better.
Your attorney will tell the commissioner what you want. The human services worker will give their recommendations to the court commissioner, and the commissioner will then decide how the case will proceed. Any changes in where the youth will live and any other conditions that will need to be met before the next court date will also be discussed. It is important to remember that while every case is different, the job of everyone in the Division of Youth and Family Services is to ensure the safety and wellness of every youth and the safety of the community. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what you can expect when you get your day in court.